Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari Gopi Jana Girivara Dari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana 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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Sata Shishi Mad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shishi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premananda, Hari 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 Bolo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shishi Guru and Garanga and His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the 10th canto, the 52nd chapter, text 9. Palaya Manau Tau Dristva Magada Prahasan Bali Anvadavad Rathanikair Ishayor Apramana Abit Palayamanau Taldristva Magada Prahasan Bali Anvadavad Rathanikair Ishayora Pramanabit Palayamanau Taudristva Magada Prahasan Bali Anvadavad Rathanikair Ishayora Pramanabit Palaya Manautau Dristva Magada Prahasan Bali Anvadavad Ratani Kair Ishayo Rapramanavit Palaya Manautan Rishva Mahada Prahasan Bali Anvatavad Ratani Kair Ishayor Apramanavit Ayamanata Vista. Anybody else? Go. Valayamanau taudristva Bhagada Prahasan Bali Anvadava Ratani Kair Ishayora Pramanavi Valayamanau taudristva Valayamanau, who were fleeing. Tau, those two. Dristva, seeing. Magadaha, Jarasandha. Prahasan, laughing loudly. Bali, powerful. Anvadavat, he ran after. Rata, with charioteers. Anikai, and soldiers. Ishayaho, of the lords. Apramanavit, unaware of the scope. So translation, when he saw them fleeing, powerful Jarasandha laughed loudly and then pursued them with charioteers and foot soldiers. He could not understand the exalted position of the two lords. So we can repeat. When he saw them fleeing, powerful Jarasandha laughed loudly and then pursued them with charioteers and foot soldiers. He could not understand the exalted position of the two lords. So I'm going to read the translation, or the commentaries by the Acharyas, and I'm also going to read 10 and 11 and pull it together. So Vishwanath, I'm going to make a few comments after these first few commentaries. So Vishwanath Chakravarti shares that unaware of their greatness, apramanavit, he pursued them. And Jiva Goswami shares that he could not understand the power of the lords, apramanavit, that they could not be defeated by human strength. He ran after them but could not take the wealth. It is understood that Krishna brought the wealth to Dwarka. The Harivamsa says, Nivedayam asatato narati petaru grasene pratipurna manasa janardano dvara patim chatam purim ashovayatena tanena purina. He brought the wealth and offered it to Ugrasena. He made Dwaraka beautiful with the abundant treasures. And then Sanatan Goswami shares, similar, Jarasandha was strong, Bale, because he had 23 aukshanas of troops, and because he had personal strength. He laughed loudly or mocked them while saying, What astonishing bravery of these three warriors. He pursued them with his chariot and armies, or with armies who rode chariots, since they could not capture the two brothers by any other means, because they're running and they can't catch them. He ran after them, but could not catch them. Thus they took the wealth. And then repeat the same verse from the Harivamsa. So I'm not going to share that, but it's just a couple of comments, because as we're going into these next few verses, I was thinking how this is really why we're here, and what our problem is that we're actually misunderstanding who Krishna is, and we misunderstand his greatness and to the extent of his greatness. And that's really, again, why we're here. And we keep applying our human vision, because I was thinking about that in the context of Jarasandha, is, he's thinking that he's some mundane personality, even though he wasn't able to defeat him 18 times? And so what's amazing is that Krishna he's got it all planned out. He knows exactly what's going on. And this actually reminds me, as he's running away from the field, of something that happened in the Mahabharata when Duryodhana was going to see his mother, who had blinded herself at marriage by putting on a blindfold, had obtained and gained so much Shakti from that action. And so she was going to look at Duryodhana and make him invincible from that, the power that she had gained from that particular austerity. And at the same time, Krishna's playing, Shakuni's got Krishna playing dice, thinking he's got all this covered, that he's going to distract Krishna so that nothing can interrupt Duryodhana from getting a full body wash from his mother seeing him in his birthday suit, not dressed. But Krishna's got it under control, so at the same time he's doing that, he's giving counsel to Duryodhana that, this is crazy, it's improper to go in front of your mother in such a condition. And so Duryodhana wraps his groin area, so that he's decent when he goes to see his mother, but that's his weakness. And and at the same time, Shakuni thinks, I've got this covered, he's distracted, there's nothing he can do, but Krishna can be anywhere at any time, and take care of everything. And so understanding Krishna's greatness, and understanding our position relative to that greatness is so important, to have that humility and to understand, what our real position is, because if not, we're going to end up in this position like Jarasandha. And, Jarasandha's on the field, and, he's mocking him and making, fun of Krishna. And here these two amazing personalities are actually running away, and he's got to have Akshinis, like hundreds and thousands of soldiers chasing after him, and he still can't catch them, right? He's beat him 18 times, and he's still not getting Krishna's greatness. And so he's mocking him. And again, this is the false ego in thinking that we're the controller and that we've got this under control. We can't even control our bodies and what they do, right? What to speak of controlling Krishna, who's the controller of all. And so, to me, this is a really strong message and point, because again, they're chasing them and they're trying to get all this wealth, and they can't even get that. And, Krishna gives the wealth to Ugrasena. And again, Krishna's giving us the example of what it is that we're supposed to do with our life, and that's to give all our wealth to Krishna, right? As to etiquette, he gave it to Ugrasena, who is a king and, in charge of everything. And so he wanted to give him, according to his position, the appropriate means to do his job. And we, as, again, devotees, it's so important to remember why we're doing everything, because everything we're doing from an external position could seem very mundane, like mowing the lawn, cleaning the bathroom, washing the dishes, sweeping the temple, even holding a job, all those things. But if we do those for Krishna, that's what's going to change our heart, is understanding that. And obviously we do the chanting to change the heart, but the reason we chant is to change our consciousness around why we're doing what we're doing and the vision that we have, and understanding that our real strength doesn't lie in what material strength we may have in body, what material strength we may have in money, what material strength we may have in armies, right? And any of those things. So it's, and to me, that focus, like when I look at Jarasandha, I'm thinking he's just doing this mindlessly, right? He's just completely mindless of who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. And, that's what our challenge is to come to the place of understanding of why we're doing what we're doing, and then doing everything. That's our whole training. Like, I've been thinking about this for quite some time now, maybe the last 8 months to a year, of understanding what it really means to love Krishna and to do everything for Krishna, and not to do something for myself, right? I mean, certainly take care of ourselves. We have bodies and we have to take care of those, but we take care of it so we can serve Krishna. We're doing everything to give our heart to Krishna, and everything belongs to him, and that's appropriate. So all of these things that we're doing, coming under the guidance of the spiritual master, and performing our sadhana bhakti and doing our different devotional services, is learning how to give up our selfish attitude and to do everything for Krishna. We're learning how to love Krishna, right? So I want to tie this into the next two verses. 10 is just a commentary basically, and then 11 has a little bit more of an extensive purport. 10 is Pradrutra Duram Samrantau Tungam Maruhatam Girim Vavarshang Shanakam Kyam Bhagavaniya Nityara Yatra Varshita. Apparently exhausted, after fleeing a long distance, the two lords climbed a high mountain named Pravarshana, upon which Lord Indra showers incessant rains. Jiva Goswami shares, because the mountain had lots of rain, it could not be burned by fire. Sanatan Goswami shares, running quickly with their soft feet, Pradrutya, they became tired, apparently, tired but beautiful because of their special pastime. They climbed the mountain because on its peak there was a continual rain. It was also called Pravarshana, a place of great rain. Fire could not burn. And then 11, Girau Nila Navagyaya Nadigamya Padam Nripa Dadaham Girim Edobihi Samantad Agnim Utsrijan. Although he knew they were hiding on the mountain, Jarasandha could find no trace of them. Therefore, O king, he placed firewood on all sides and set the mountain ablaze. Purport. Clearly we are observing one of the Supreme Lord's transcendental pastimes. Although the Bhagavatam states that the two lords, Krishna and Balaram, were exhausted, even in their so-called exhausted state, they were able to quickly climb a high mountain and shortly thereafter jump off it to the ground. It would be unwise and illogical to ignore the whole picture the sages are giving us here and instead try to pick apart isolated descriptions. Clearly, which is a very, very valid point, is to understand things from the big picture and not pick out certain things just to validate your point of view. There has to be a whole clarification of points. Clearly, we are watching the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, in the midst of his spiritual pastimes. We are not observing an ordinary human being. Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram were still quite young men when this pastime took place, and one can easily see in these descriptions how they must have been enjoying themselves, eagerly fleeing from this somewhat ridiculous King Jarasandha, racing up a mountain, jumping off and totally befuddling the constantly failing demon who somehow or other never lost confidence in himself. Seen without envy or quarrelsome, the Lord's pastimes are immensely entertaining. And that's our point, right? Is to really, I mean, can you imagine this guy's thinking he's got it all, he's running after him, and they're just looking back, laughing at him. It reminds me of Jagai and Madai and Lord Nityananda, and who was the cohort he was with? Who was he with? My brain can't think. It's so, Haridas Thakur, thank you, my brain won't calculate so fast. Anyway, and so they were, here these drunk guys following behind them, making all this ruckus, and they're running, trying to get away from them and laughing, oh my God, they're going to catch us. So it's kind of that same mood, right? It's just like, you got to be kidding me. So, again, it's just like, this mentality of not really understanding the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's what gets us into all the trouble that we have, is these moments of lack of clarity, and, thinking that we're the controller and in control and not, being humble. So Jiva Goswami shares that Jarasandha could not find the spot where they were hiding, or he could not understand where they were because he could not find their footprints. He began to burn the mountain. O king, this expresses the great power of fire. Sanatan Goswami shares that Jarasandha could not find the spot where they were hiding, or he could not understand where they were because he could not find their footprints. They hid among the bushes and grass to give joy to the animals. So they're doing all these like all these different things, right? Or he could not find their footprints anywhere. Lighting fire in all directions, he began to burn the mountain. O king, this expresses the great power of fire. Giving the order through many followers, he burned the mountain. And so I'm going to read the Krishna book, because this is in the Krishna book, and it reminds me of this wonderful picture in the Krishna book, and especially in these early books, have these wonderful early paintings that are so vibrant. And it actually reminds me, it popped into my head as I was preparing for class, that this was actually one of the first Krishna conscious dreams that I had, was that I was jumping off the mountain with them. And then we were on this mesa or platform, and everybody was sitting around and having lunch. And then it was either Keishi deeming, or I'm pretty sure it was Keishi, because I remember thinking it was a horse. It showed up and kind of ruined the whole thing. And to me, it was a lesson, because if you go back to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gives a discourse on the different meanings of the different anartas related to these. And the Keishi demon is, the horse demon, and the feeling that I am a great devotee and spiritual master of everybody, right? Because that can happen. One of the, fall downs is, the results or the benefits that we gain or obtain from advancing in spiritual life. So we have to be careful. So to me, that was the lesson. It's not that I'm some great personality, but that I was reminded that I don't, humility has to be a part of being able to participate in the Supreme Personality of God's pastimes. If we really want to do that, then, we have to develop our humility. And so I wanted to read the pastime of Krishna the Ranchor. It's 51. When Muchukunda, the celebrated descendant of the Ishvaku dynasty, was favored by Lord Krishna, he circumambulated the Lord within the cave and then came out. On coming out of the cave, Muchukunda saw that the stature of the human species had surprisingly been reduced to pygmy size. Similarly, the trees had also far reduced in size, and Muchukunda could immediately understand that the current age was Kali. Therefore, without diverting his attention, he began to travel north. Eventually, he reached the mountain known as Gandhamadana. It appeared there were many trees on the mountain, such as sandalwood and other flower trees, the flavor of which made anyone joyful who reached them. He decided to remain at that Gandhamadana mountain region in order to execute austerities and penances for the rest of his life. It appears that this place is situated in the northernmost part of the Himalayan mountains where the abode of Naranarayan is situated. This place is still existing and is called Bhadarik Ashram. In Bhadarik Ashram, he engaged himself in the worship of Lord Krishna, forgetting all pain and pleasure and all the other dualities of this material world. Lord Krishna also returned to the vicinity of the city of Mathura and began to fight with the soldiers of Kalyavana and kill them one after another. After this, he collected all the booty from the dead bodies, and under his direction it was loaded on bullock carts by big men and brought back to Dwarka. Meanwhile, Jarasandha again attacked Mathura, this time with a bigger division of soldiers numbering 23 aukshanas. Lord Krishna wanted to save Mathura from the 18th attack of the great military division of King Jarasandha. In order to prevent further killing of the soldiers and to attend to other important business, Lord Krishna left the battlefield without fighting. Actually, he was not at all afraid, but he pretended to be an ordinary human being frightened by the immense quality of soldiers and resources of Jarasandha. And as we read further, we'll see how Krishna has a purpose behind everything that he does. It's not just to leave, but he's got so many other things. And my spiritual master in Tulsi mentioned this yesterday. So we'll see. Without any weapons, he left the battlefield. Although his lotus feet were soft as the petals of the lotus flower, he proceeded for a very long distance on foot. This time, Jarasandha thought that Krishna and Balaram were very much afraid of his military strength and were fleeing from the battlefield. He began to follow them with all his chariots, horses, and infantry. And again, here we are, Jarasandha, thinking he's the controller. He's got this under control. He's got this massive infantry. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Balaram are barefoot, and they're running, and somehow he's not getting it, right? So he thought Krishna and Balaram to be ordinary human beings. And again, there's the problem. They were not understanding Krishna's greatness. He was trying to measure the activities of the Lord. Krishna is known as Ranchor, which means one who has left the battlefield. In India, especially in Gujarat, there are many temples of Krishna which are known as temples of Ranchorji. Ordinarily, if a king leaves the battlefield without fighting, he is called a coward. But when Krishna enacts this pastime, leaving the battlefield without fighting, he is worshipped by a devotee. A demon always tries to measure the opulence of Krishna, whereas the devotee never tries to measure his strength and opulence, but always surrenders unto him and worships him. By following the footsteps of pure devotees, we can know that Krishna, the Ranchorji, did not leave the battlefield because he was afraid, but because he had some other purpose. The purpose, as it will be revealed, was to attend to a confidential letter sent by Rukmini, his future first wife. The act of Krishna's leaving the battlefield is a display of one of his 6 opulences. Krishna is the supreme powerful, the supreme wealthy, the supreme famous, the supreme wise, the supreme beautiful. Similarly, he is the supreme renouncer. Srimad Bhagavatam clearly states that he left the battlefield in spite of having ample military strength. Even without his militia, however, he alone would have been sufficient to defeat the army of Jarasandha. And he had done so 17 times before. Therefore, his leaving the battlefield is an example of his supermost opulence of renunciation. After traversing a very long distance, the brothers pretended to become very tired. To mitigate their weariness, they climbed up a very high mountain several miles above sea level. This mountain was called Pravarshana, due to constant rain. The peak was always covered with clouds sent by Indra. Jarasandha took it for granted that the 2 brothers were afraid of his military power and had hidden themselves at the top of the mountain. First he tried to find them, searching for a long time, but when he failed, he decided to trap and kill them by setting fires around the peak. And again, here searching for a long time, he failed to find them. And why was he able not to find them? Because of his relationship with them. And that's relative to our relationship, is that if we think we're the controller and that we think we're in the enjoyer, and that it's, if this whole process is about us versus learning about Krishna, then we're not going to find him, right? The only way to find Krishna is really to fully surrender and to let go of all these anartas, to work on all these things, and connect our heart to Krishna, and to keep trying for that, right? After traversing a very long distance, the brothers pretended to be... Oh, we already read that. The brothers' clouds were afraid of the mountain. He therefore surrounded the peak with oil and set it on fire. As the blaze spread more and more, Krishna and Balaram jumped from the top of the mountain down to the ground, a distance of 88 miles. Thus, while the peak was burning, Krishna and Balaram escaped without being seen by Jarasandha. Jarasandha concluded that the two brothers had been burned to ashes and that there was no need of further fighting. Thinking himself successful in his efforts, he left the city of Mathura and returned to his home in the kingdom of Magadha. Gradually, Krishna and Balaram reached the city of Dwarka, which was surrounded on all sides by the sea. Following this, Sri Balaram married Revati, daughter of King Revata, ruler of the Anar province. This is explained in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. After the marriage of Baladev, Krishna married Rukmini. Rukmini was the daughter of King Bhishmaka, ruler of the province known as Vidarbha. Just as Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, Vasudev, Rukmini is the supreme goddess of fortune, Mahalakshmi. According to the authority of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the expansion of Krishna and Sri Radharani is simultaneous. Krishna expands himself into various Vishnu Tattva forms, and Srimati Radharani expands herself into various Shakti Tattva forms by her internal potency as multi-forms of the goddess of fortune. So again, I guess just for me, what kept standing out in this whole cumulative thing of understanding Jarasandha is my place, and my place of really trying to let go of being the controller. I remember I was having a conversation with my spiritual master the other day, and it was semi-business, but, semi-informal conversation, and, and that topic came up, and I said, yes, I definitely want to get tired. I mean, I definitely want to be the controller, partly because I have a type A personality. I'm like, get everything done, like almost militaristically. But at the same time, I've done that for 35, 40 years in the business world, so I'm kind of tired of it. I'm really worn out from trying to control everything. And, the wonderful thing about practicing Krishna consciousness is that he continues to give us these token reactions to remind us of why we don't want to be the controller. And then he also, gives us these great personalities like Srila Prabhupada, who brought all these, think about all these, translations and stories that, that Srila Prabhupada himself, just by himself, with the help of his devotees, of course, brought all these amazing, wonderful stories, full-blown Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna book, Isha Upanishad, Nectar of Devotion, all the, just one thing after another. To give, for what reason? Is to give our heart all these avenues for connecting to Krishna, right? For giving us all these resources for reminding ourselves who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is and why we want to have a relationship with him. And then remembering, again, like one of my favorite, which I've mentioned many times in class, one of my favorite opulences of Krishna is his renunciation, right? Because and that's what the whole story with Shakuni, is he's in this dice game with Shakuni, and Shakuni's got his magic dice, and he thinks he's gonna win, and he thinks he's got him distracted from taking care of Duryodhana, and Krishna's, not taking any turns. And they've made a bet. that, whoever wins, the other one will give up their life. And so the whole time Shakuni's rolling his dice, Krishna says, I'm not rolling. And, Shakuni's going, are you crazy? Because if you don't play, you lose. And, I win. And we're in a great place. And so then, but at the same time, and Krishna's just sitting there. And then at the same time, Duryodhana's over here trying to get all this battle strength. And Krishna's, telling me he needs to wrap himself. So he's in these two places at one time. And then Shakuni hears about it. And he's like, well, how did that happen? And so Shakuni gets up and leaves the dice game, haven't even finished it. And Krishna's like, well, if you leave, you die because you haven't won yet, right? You're going to leave your body. And so Krishna's got this under control. You know what I mean? He knows exactly what he's doing. He knew that even though he didn't have to play, he was going to win because he knew that, Shakuni was going to find out that, Duryodhana didn't do what he asked him to do, which is not cover himself so that he could be completely, invulnerable. Same thing with Jarasandha. Jarasandha sit here and had 18 different fights, and he's still thinking they're running on feet with these thousands of soldiers behind him that somehow he's going to, win. And again, tying it back into the renunciation is that's Krishna's examples of renunciation, right? That he can walk away from the field, that he can walk away from a dice, game or not participate, and he's still going to win. So this renunciation to me also ties in to me is that, and why to me it's so significant, and to me in sharing with other people is it so significant, is that he has no ulterior motive. He has no ulterior motive in getting us to participate in Krishna consciousness or become attached to him. And to me, that means that I can trust him completely. If he doesn't have any ulterior motive, that he can renounce anything, that he's not trying to get anything from us. He's trying to give us everything. And that, to me, means safety. I feel safe there. My heart feels safe there. And so I keep coming back to that in the context of, why I'm practicing Krishna consciousness. And, when my false ego gets bumped a little bit or pounded a lot or whatever it is, that, and I want to leave and I want to run away because, I don't think I can take it, or, I feel like I'm not being heard, or I'm more valuable than I'm being given credit for, whatever it is that the mind goes off on. I remember that why am I doing this is because I want to love Krishna. I want to feel safe. I want to have a relationship, and I want to give him everything that I have. I'm still tripping because I don't know how to do that, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. But in the association of the devotees and Guru Shastra and Sadhu, performing devotional service, I know I'll make it beyond any shadow of a doubt. I know that, because the one thing that's so different about this process is that it's so reciprocative. We get realizations, we get realizations through the heart. We get realizations through the other devotees. We get, we spiritually advance to validate the process. And you don't see that. Like I came across and was watching an old video because I found a letter that was written by my spiritual master's mother to Ted, and I can't remember his last name, who was the deprogrammer back in the day. And then there was this video of Hridayananda Das Goswami and another devotee having, a debate with him and another lady. The whole thing just, now I totally lost my thought. Oh, anyway, thinking back to, I guess, just depending on Krishna and having the association of the devotees. Anyway, lost my thought. But it was an amazing interview of, and them not really understanding or being clear about who Krishna was. and our relationship with him, and being protected by him, and them not really understanding who God was or who Krishna is, right? So anyway, sorry, I lost that thought last minute. Pop quiz, but anyway, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda and the Association of the Devotees.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Kriya Priti Manti Vasyan Vivan Vikayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi
Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Brindavana Purandara Gopi Priya Jana Radhikaramana Bhovana Sundara Bara
Gopi Priya Jana Radhikaramana Bhovana Sundara Bara
Ravana Tankara Makhana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastra Hari
Ravana Tankara Makhana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastra Hari
Navina Nirada Rupa Manohara Brajena Rakala Gopa Vrindapala Chitta Hari Vansi Dari
Rajera Rakana Gopa Vrindapala Chitta Hari Vamsidari
Joginda Vandanam Srinandanandanam Brajajana Baya Hari
Yogendra Vandana Srinandanandana Rajajana Maya Hari
Naviranirata Rupa Manohara Mohana Vansi Hari
Navina Nirana Rupa Manohara Vamsidari
Yashodanandana Kansa Nishudana Nikunjara Savilasi
Yashodanandana Kamsa Vishudana
Kadamba Kanana Rasaparayana Brinda Vipina Nivasi
Kadambakanana Rasaparayana Vrindavipina Nivasi
Ananda Padana Premanikitana Ulasara Jojakakama
Ananda Vardana Premanikitana Ulasara Jojajama
Gopangana Gana Chita Vinodana Samashta Guna Ganadama
Gopagana Gana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dama
Jamuna Jivana Kaliparayana Manasa Chandra Chakora
Yamuna Jivana Keliparaya Manasa Chandra Chakora
Namasudarasa Gayo Krishna Jasa Rako Vachana Manamora
Namo Sudarasa Gao Krishna Jasa Rakovachana Manamora
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Jayo Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radhe. Jayo Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radhe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Sri Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Nitai Go Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitai Go Haribo, 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 Nitai Go Haribo. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gaura Premanand.
Raja's ruler, beautifully dark complexion, slayer of witch Putana, destroyer of demon Kaitaba, and victorious son of Dasarath, Lord Ram, darling of Yoda, giver of pleasure to cows and spiritual senses, cow protector, Lord of Vrindavan, the gopis' beloved, and most beautiful of all the worlds, cause of the demon Ravana's demise as Lord Rama, Madhurathi, robber of the gopi girls' clothes, young herdsman of Braj, protector of the thief of hearts and flute carrier, worshipped by the best of yogis, Nanda's Maroi, remover of all fears to the people of Braj, colored like a fresh rain cloud, enchanting in form and charming while wandering and playing the flute. Yashoda's joy, vanquisher of demon Hamsa, enjoyer of the rasa dance among the Lord's groves and under the Kanda, and residents of the woods of Vrinda, increasing the ecstasy of the devotees, reservoir of all love, transcendental Cupid who uses his flower and arrows to increase the loving desires of the gopis, pleasure of the hearts of all the counted women, men, and the gold of all good qualities. The river, always absorbed in amorous pastimes, and moon of the train, which is like the moonlight, for a bird. In my words, O mind, these holy names are full of nectarian names. For I sing the glories of Krishna. Haribo. Chaitodarpanam Arjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtana Nam Namakari Brahda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pitani Amrita Smarane Nakala Etad Drishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoitaki Twayi Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitamam Vishamevavam Buddha Kripayata Vapada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vichintaya Nayanam Galarshu Daraya Varanam Gadgadurudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Aslishyava Padamratam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatas Saevanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of it is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than